Spending lots of time searching outside of yourself to find happiness, joy, health, and wealth? With each new acquired good or goal reached, are you once again jumping on the gerbil wheel, searching for that next thing to make you happy? The answers we are searching for are actually inside of us, and the connection we are looking for is one with self. Explore these and other self-reflective questions here on Finding the Spark Within. Hosted by Christin Collins, discover how you can connect with your purpose and achieve true happiness, meaning, and well-being. Don't miss tuning in and find the spark within.
Experience that we're all having through COVID has been that really interesting time where we've all been contemplating some deeper questions. So I find the timing of all this incredibly ironic, and I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to reflect and
reset.
Amen.
To me, this was a
Heal.
reset. Like, question myself, what am I doing in my life? And you were such an inspiration. There were so many moments in here where you could have gone down a different path. And you chose to go straight ahead, even when it wasn't easy.
Especially when it's not easy. And you just gave me chills everywhere.
Because so many, I think our generation, women, we think we have to do the right thing. We always have to be, you know what I mean? We just have to
proper,
do, yes,
say
proper,
yes.
smile, yes, and not sometimes ask the tough questions and question our community, our employers, and ourselves about what we could be doing better. So talk to me about when the moment first came when you said, I need to put this all on paper.
And I wish there was a single moment I could cite, but to be honest, there had been moments that were kind of subconscious, like, this is crazy and nobody would even believe this. That'd just be an interesting story to share. But as the book opens with, it was a fateful evening in Florida with my amazing husband and my beautiful stepdaughter. And we were sitting out back in our lanai, reflecting on a very long, interesting day, and yet overcoming something. And honestly, I don't even remember what that actual something was, but my stepdaughter, who's been very impactful, and hey, Megsy, it was one of those moments where her little wise blue eyes looked at me and she said, you really should write a book and share these stories. She said, your life looks so simple and easy and glamorous and fun on, and it is all of those things. But she said, people have no idea what you've had to overcome, and you've overcome a lot. And if you shared those stories, I think you would inspire a lot of others. Yeah. And I was like, oh, here we go.
Because from the outside, you look like you live in the beautiful community. You have a wonderful job. You have a wonderful husband who, write a book about, banker, hospital executive, best neighborhood. You checked all the boxes. And then you kind of just stepped away from it all.
Yeah. And, I did have all those things, right? I still have an amazing life. My life's amazing, right? But at the same time, there's some real things to overcome. And the writing of the book for me was my personal exploration and journey, and downloading it, healing from it, and releasing, right? And then by sharing it, maybe it would help others, inspire awakening in others. So it really is for anyone to realize it's okay that today's awful. And it's okay that this year my marriage is really rough. If we own how we're feeling and we talk about it honestly and openly and lovingly, then we can actually work through it.
Rather than turning to food, alcohol, all those things. I love the connection between mental health and your body, because you were so stressed, your body was failing you. Talk about that.
It was amazing. And the irony of the fact that I found myself as a vegan triathlete, hospital executive.
Because I've been out to dinner with you when you ordered a cauliflower steak, and I'm like, what?
And they're delicious.
Delicious. I make it at home now because you and David were ordering one, and it was fabulous. Well, but that was my first introduction to cauliflower steak, was with you.
And we were always the people at the event that Kelly was emceeing. That poor Brian Rowland was having to be like, we have the Collins's meal.
Yes, they got it.
They got the Collins's meal.
Yes.
So the irony of, I felt fine. I looked okay. Life was rocking and rolling.
You weren't obese. You were running I remember the Captiva
The
marathon.
triathlons, half mares, never got
Yes.
to a full mare. But anywho, and that very fateful day when Dr. Sal did blood work on me and my inflammation marker was so inflamed that it was actually almost off the page.
I mean, he couldn't track it.
We
with
couldn't
the
find
number.
it. We thought they forgot to, yeah,
Right.
which was crazy. So that was the aha moment where I'm like, what am I doing wrong? This is my professional job. I have oversight of well-being, and I'm a vegan triathlete, whatever. And
But
I'm
my
like,
paperwork's a mess. I'm a mess on paper.
I'm a mess on paper. So that was the aha of like, I've got to figure out my body is failing and in the state of inflammation, disease is created. So what is it that I'm doing wrong? And that was the beginning of this great exploration and internalization and asking a lot of questions and kind of going outside of the box to find solutions.
But you kind of found a guru to help you through it all, Scott Cashman.
Oh my gosh, Mr. Cashman. Yeah, he has been one of the most impactful humans in my life, and the servant leader who inspired my awakening through when he was my boss, just his form of leadership. So the thing with Scott is that he asked inquisitive questions. He has a psych background. And I was just talking about this today, how instead of telling you, he held space for you to self-discover. So I grew so much, as you know, in those years when I was working with him, and still to this day, he's a very dear friend and a huge impact on my life.
I found it interesting. You make a connection between two things in your health, what you put in your mouth and how you feel in your head. And I don't think a lot of people think that, oh, what if I have some French fries or eat a, Twinkie or whatever.
And by the way, an occasional French
Right,
fries are delicious.
right.
Twinkies are amazing. I think what's happened for me is I had to will my way through, and I don't know, I think this resonates for a lot of people. I had to will my way through decisions on eating for most of my life. And now, because I've gotten actually in touch with who I am, and I'm here now, and I'm okay with me, and I'm I have self-love and self-care. Self-care is a different definition. So now when I'm eating a French fry and I do that, I am loving every second of it. I'm enjoying the moment. I'm taking it in, but I'm not trying to find happiness and joy
in that.
Or I'm not subconsciously trying to self-destruct.
Or mindless eating, which is what I find myself doing when I'm making my kids their meal and I'm standing there and I don't sit down for a meal. I'm standing there and I just put bites in my mouth without even thinking. And it's being mindful about what you're eating.
And the decisions again are easier because then my portion control is better. I'm able to be like, okay, that was great, but I'm in touch with my body and it's saying to me, you need some broccoli. You know what I mean?
It doesn't taste as good anymore all of a sudden. You don't have the cravings.
And the cravings you are having are interesting when you're like, you know what? I am actually really excited to have a salad.
Or a cauliflower
I used to have a salad. I used to have a salad because I knew that was the right thing to do. But now it's like, no, actually, my body's craving that for fuel.
So what about, so we have the connection about what you put in your mouth, but what about what's going on in your head, sleep, stress, all that, and the effect on your body? I think so many people are like, oh, it's not a big deal. I can handle it.
And you want to talk about what you eat and what your body is looking and feeling like, look at your stress levels. And what's so interesting and part of this journey has been that self-discovery of the interconnectedness of all of those components. Right. And I know we were talking before about the chapter where I highlight that when Scott Cashman and I were kind of bickering, as we do often, and
it's healthy.
I
learned that too.
It's
from this
conflict
book.
Is amazing.
Yes, you got
when handled in a loving way.
If you don't argue in your marriage, then you're not doing marriage right. I learned that in here.
That's and let's go there because that's just such a hot takeaway. I was like, oh, that's what marriage is. It's not about putting your sneakers on when it gets tough. The interconnectivity, when you are so freaking out about what everyone else is doing and judging, trying to control your environment and spinning because somebody else said I didn't like your dress or whatever. You're stressed out at work. You hate your job. Like you're
always questioning yourself.
You have to address that. And whatever your stressors are. So how can you sleep when you're stressed? We all know you
How many times wake up at 3:00 in the morning about something that happened at work that day?
Yep. So then how do we manage that? How do we let that go? Right. And then now you're mindlessly eating because you're exhausted, you're stressed out. We've all been interestingly eating during COVID,
Right.
stress eating.
Or drinking.
Or
Is
drinking.
a big, just turning to that to feel better or because you're bored.
Amen.
What about marriage? I know this isn't a book about marriage,
No.
but there are so many themes throughout. Especially I liked the credit card part. Can you tell that story?
Oh, that was so awful. That was so hard.
But you
yeah.
told it, and so many of us could relate to that. Conflicts in marriage about money.
Yep. Conflicts in marriage about money. And I had given my word, and David, you are so generous always. And the grace that was shown to me in that experience, that's what taught me that chapter, that experience taught me that honesty, even when it's awful and you totally screwed up. And he had every right to be like, no, that was a deal breaker. And you had promised, and this isn't the first time.
To explain her credit card. Her credit card, David was looking through the finances and going to refinance something. And the smart banker that he is calmly called and said, honey, I think there must be some mistake. You have $35,000 in credit card debt.
And I was like, I do. And it was the hardest, honest.
But you had been stressing about keeping that
2.5 years.
But after it came out,
I was relieved and scared out of my mind. And knowing that night when I was driving home, like there is a very strong chance that he's like, yeah, that's too
a deal breaker.
Like, been there, done that. It's not going to be able to be something that we can sustain. And
so you underestimated him.
I 100% underestimated him. I underestimated the strength of our marriage. I underestimated myself. I underestimated honesty. And that's one of those where I found is such a good lesson in honesty and the freedom that honesty gives, and letting the cards fall where they may. And the best thing about that was the love and gratitude I felt from how that was handled. Guess what? David's handled the credit cards ever since.
But that was a moment.
Great.
That's a moment in your marriage. Like a strengthening moment.
And one of the
could have been awful.
One of the hardest moments of our marriage.
But it taught you to be honest and to reconnect and to trust him with everything. And I think trust is something so many of us have trouble with.
Yeah. And trusting, right? And again, that kind of goes into the unattached outcome, honesty and trust. So yes, I did that. And yes, I completely screwed up. And then I'm like, why did I do that? How did I get here? So it gave me the opening to really, because I wasn't fending for my marriage, right? It gave me that space to be able to reflect and be like, how did I get here again? And why? And then I realized I'm trying to obtain some kind of happiness.
Through material things.
Right. And it was, I don't know, I'm sure most of you can relate to this. It's like that cortisol
Designer
release. I'm like, oh my God, I love these shoes.
Gotta have them.
Oh my God. I love, I love. And then that lasts how long, and the more you do it, the shorter.
And during COVID, you could sit at home and shop and order, and the boxes come. And
so now when the box comes and they come, I buy things. I'm like, do I love it?
Does this make me happy?
And
does this give me joy?
Because guess what? That happiness isn't coming from that. Right. The happiness is coming from here. And now it's just a beautiful pair of shoes that I love and I, enjoy thoroughly, but that's not where I'm finding the satiation. That's not where the dopamine hit's coming from.
What did you talk about? Unattached outcome?
Unattached outcome.
What does that mean?
That has been such a huge lesson. And it was a great experience with my friend and executive coach, Heather Christie, where I
love her.
Isn't she amazing?
Yes.
She's so amazing. And she was able to walk me through that. I used to only put myself out there halfway.
When it was safe. And
whatever.
I understand that.
I'm unattached to outcome.
Right.
If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And this very laissez-faire attitude protected me from being uberly disappointed if and when there was failure. And that worked for me forever, right? But it also kept me from giving an opportunity my all. So fortunately, sometimes that worked out. Sometimes it didn't, but often
it was like self-protection though.
Yeah, right? I think a lot of us do that.
Absolutely.
So she was asking me a question about an upcoming opportunity. I'm like, if it happens, it happens.
Whatever. Yeah.
She goes, on a scale from 1 to 10, like, where are you at with that? I'm like, a 5. It is what it is. And she was the one who expressed to me, you have to put yourself 100% into it and put it all out there, and then just be unattached to the outcome.
Attached to the goal, but unattached to the outcome.
Yep. Laser focused on the vision. I'm going to go for it.
100%.
I know I'll give it my all. And if that didn't work out, then that's okay. And it's for a reason, So then what started happening?
But that's kind of scary.
It's so scary in the beginning until you have the experience where you did give it your all and you had a massive failure, whether it didn't work out or it did work out, then it failed. And that happens. It still happens to me today where, in the past year, I've put myself all out there and it happened. And then all of a sudden, a few months later, it's not anymore. Right. And so now I'm 100% vulnerable.
But you're not crushed.
No, because now I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
But you tried 100%, and that's the goal.
It was meant to be. And I'd love to just also share with that, because I just felt it in my heart. Because this has happened, since I've had some of these epiphanies where I've put it out there, gone for it 100%, unattached to outcome. Then it happened, and then it fell apart. It hurts. Mm-hmm. It hurts, and then I have to talk myself through. Feel that. Sit in that. Just own that. Be like, ouch, ouch. Don't try. Let me distract from that. Let me go, on, bloomies.
Right. Compartmentalize. Just put it away.
Disassociate.
I'm not even going to think about it, because I think that's something like I tend to do. I'm like, I'm just going to put this over here, but it comes out in other ways later.
All kinds of interesting ways. Mm-hmm. So sitting there, feeling that emotion in real time, right? Because that emotion's a gift. Emotions, we are, as a society and a culture, the ones that say, we put the labels on the emotions, but we're going to feel all the emotions at some given time.
Or good, bad. This is okay to feel. This isn't.
There is no, it just is. And we're assigning the attachment of whether that's good or bad. I had a great conversation this morning with my cousin, Colleen, and we were talking about the economy. Right. And how I had shared some of this information in the past couple of weeks. And she said, that was really impactful for me, because the messaging came through as different people are going to look at this current economy differently. For a lot of people, it's horrible. Right. And that's the label they're putting on it. For someone like me, it was a new opportunity. Right. For some of my dearest friends who are in construction, and, my husband, who's a mortgage banker, they're so busy they can't breathe.
Service industry.
Yep.
Horrible. So everybody's experience is so different.
Yes.
And what part of the country you live in? Yep. Florida has been very different than the Northeast or the West Coast. And
is Florida especially, right?
Yes. I mean, totally different experiences. So you can't assign that. But I think the pandemic has taught us all a little bit I've spent more time with my family, less Saturday nights, in the ballroom in a hotel, asking people for money for different fundraisers, when people are just giving money to be generous, which they would do anyways, but they don't need to put on the gown and go to the event and spend, ridiculous amounts of money to do it. It's just supporting their passions.
And I'd love to touch in on charity and giving, because that was another giant lesson in this book. And you and our friendship is based on all of the work that we've done together in this community. And again,
it's such a good feeling.
It feels amazing
after your success at the Wine Fest and raising, record amount of money. That was huge. I remember that morning. I don't know how you were up after what you'd done that morning, just emailing, being like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that just happened.
And that
you didn't believe it.
That feeling, right? And this is, I think, really important. And I don't know, if it'll resonate for some people. So what's interesting is that some assume that you do that because you want recognition or attention. Okay. And maybe for some folks, that's what it was. That was not what it was for me at all. I was not there to try to please anybody else. You know who I was there to try to please? Me.
You and Deb.
Yeah, but
who you became such close friends with, like you two, like together were really trying to I felt like you had we're trying to really wanted to not disappoint each other, because you loved each other so much.
Amen. And that's a huge, huge point. Yet, right. So I wasn't doing that to impress her. And I know, right.
It was love of, it was a friendship.
But this is what I found out. And I think, again, this is really, it was deep. It was very deep, Kellie.
It was a
like,
moment.
Whoa. I chose to give all of that, so much of my energy and my love and my passion, so that I could
Time, money,
money, all of that, so that I could actually be comfortable and love myself. No, let's digest that for a hot second. I couldn't just sit here and take in oxygen and be like, I'm worthy of my own love.
You needed that to feed yourself.
I didn't need it to feed you. I didn't need that to feed my husband or my friends or my co-chairs. Okay. I found that I needed, in order to love myself, I needed to be serving. And simultaneously, I wouldn't allow any receiving. Even if you were, giving me beautiful, generous, whatever it was, the wall was so high that I wouldn't let it land, because then maybe someday you could take that away from me. So now I'm having to.
You were really good at deflecting anybody, because I remember saying, you amazing, you did such a great job. Oh no, it was this. Oh no, it was this. Oh no, it was this. And it was never just taking like, I'm really proud of myself.
Yeah. So, and then what are you proud of? Right. So I would get proud for a hot second in that moment of, we just did that. I just did that. That just happened. Right. And that was my joy of self. But then that would go away. And then I was back to just me. And I was not in touch with who I was. I was not comfortable in my own skin. I hadn't done the work to actually heal and be well.
But how do you make that for somebody, me listening and somebody sitting at home? Because, there are so many moments in here where I've questioned my journey and said, where's my path? What's next? How can I be the light, be love, be a better person?
And I remember when Heather Christie was interviewing me on her podcast, and she asked me a similar question, and my answer was embarrassingly simple, and she was adorable because she rushed in to be like, I know that everyone's like thinking it's got to be harder than that.
Right.
And,
some
she's
kind
to
of
like
mathematical,
right. Mindset.
Yes.
I was
yes.
like, whatever, like we can talk about this any way we want, but here's the answer. It was almost a 4-year period of like major shift and major contemplation and major sitting and major being and major discomfort. And I think my example is extreme. And I'm hoping that through sharing some of this, I help facilitate and expedite other people's journeys.
So it's not a 4-year journey. It's a shorter one.
And that's something I love about our friend, Sarah Owen. She's hilarious because she'll go, yeah, I just watch you and you're like, 4 minutes later, I'm understanding what it is for me. And I'm like, good. Did that speed that up for you? Because that took me like 2 years. Right.
That's what I got out of this. Yes.
That's what I'm hoping.
And I think that was the quote. I inspire awakening. Like if you could, you were asked just to put something, what your goal is in life or who you are. And I inspire awakening, not I inspire wealth. It's just awakening for whoever you are. To have people come out from within. And
what is your awakening?
Yes, it's different for everyone.
For every single human on this planet, we have a different purpose and reason for being here. And getting in touch with who you are and why you are, and being comfortable with the fact that even though Kellie's a soul sister and we both are blonde and we both love to chat, we have differences, and I honor and respect where you're different from me and I'm different from her and different from him. Can you imagine a community, a culture, a globe that we were all centered and whole and we felt good being us
and respected other people for being them? And that's what we don't have today. I mean, we hear all this, fake news and media bias. And I look around our newsroom and I just see hardworking people doing their jobs, from 26-year-olds to older people like me. And we're all biased, but it's where we grew up. It's who we're married to. It's our experiences in life, but it doesn't mean we're, robots. But we all have a bias, and everybody's experience is different. We could look at that camera right there and you say it's gray and I say it's black.
And that was another lesson in this journey.
Yes.
And it was another aha when I found out again through Heather Christie.
Heather Christie, I was going to say, that was a Heather Christie moment.
Oh my God. I mean, and there's more.
Yes.
I don't even know. I think there's 2 in there, but like, I mean, Heather Christie, I don't get to be with a lot. And when I am, I'm always like, I can't wait for this experience because I learned so much from her. But
she's a life coach, by the way,
Yeah.
nationally.
She's
amazing.
Yeah, she's a national
Naples
speaker.
based.
So what was interesting and the experience was very uncomfortable because David and I, my husband and I, were not seeing eye to eye on something. And I traditionally would get uncomfortable with that. And then I would want to put on my little sneakers and remove myself so I could feel safe.
Right.
And he was, again, very patient with me because he knew I would withdraw. And that was our pattern for a long time. And so we were at an uncomfortable point and we
all have them in our marriages.
And he's probably waiting for me to remove myself so I could breathe and not hyperventilate. And Heather helped me understand that there are, for every different person on this planet, there is going to be at least a slight degree of difference in the truth.
Yes. Arguments are okay.
And so how do we argue? We take turns listening to one another. We agree to disagree. We respect that everybody is entitled to their own opinion. And again, as a society, can you imagine if we got curious about somebody else's difference
and listen more
and ask questions? And I enjoy that now. When I disagree with someone, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, interesting. Yeah, not how it works for me. But
tell me your perspective. Tell me why you think that way.
And then maybe there's a takeaway where I'm like, let me contemplate that. Or maybe I'm going to assimilate that, or absolutely not. I'm never going there.
But that's okay. You listened and you thought about it and then decided that was not where you wanted to go.
Yep.
I love how you talk about the wellness wheel, what you created. I think that we should all sit down with a piece of paper sometime and chart out the wellness wheel for each one of us, because it's not just, going to the doctor and your health. There are so many different aspects of what makes you a healthy person.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the exciting thing when somebody gets that spark, and actually, when I found out that I was responsible for my own health, I was one of those people that was like, I'd go to the doctor, they would tell me what to do. If they wrote me a script, I would take it. I'm not going to be like, so what's that for and why? And is there a way I cannot? I was just like, the doctor said they're the expert. I'm going to just proceed.
You never question the doctor.
Right.
That's kind of how we were raised, authority.
And that wasn't just a doctor. For me, that's in any industry.
But you found 2 incredible doctors.
Oh gosh, between Dr. Sal and Dr. Tashner, they were pivotal in my journey and very patient. But I think the 3 of us, along with others that we worked together, we kind of self-discovered together.
But I love the part that you were trying to understand this really complicated medical journal, because I've done that too. I'm going to try to learn this. But instead of saying, this is not me, I need to go to someone who can translate this to me. And that's what you did, instead of saying, I give up.
It was hilarious because, if anybody reads the China study by T. Colin Campbell and they're like, Christin, that's not that hard.
No.
I'll be like, I'm sorry. And maybe if I revisit it, I might get it better. I had no concept of this information. I did not know I was responsible for my own health. And then I jumped to the China study. It just didn't work for me. So in hindsight, I was able to find something that was simpler and to start, digesting that and understanding that. And then to bring that to the wellness wheel. I love that we would highlight 6 components of well-being so that wherever you were in your walk, whether you came to the awareness that you were responsible for your own health and that you were interested in improving that you found that's on me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not on my doctor's appointment. That's not on my therapist's appointment. Like, that's on me. And the vast majority of chronic disease is preventable or reversible. There are genetic scenarios. There are things that cannot be changed, but the vast majority of chronic disease can be prevented or reversed. And I'm like, why are we not all studying this? Why are we waiting until people get sick and then we're fixing them? Why don't we get to the root cause of why they're sick, right? If this is preventable or reversible. And so however you enter the wheel, which would have been through nutrition, physical activity, sleep, stress, mental and behavioral health, which we've worked so much on. And then the 6th component, which was purpose or know your why. And what was so interesting back then in that fight with Scott Cashman was when know your why or purpose came out of my mouth.
And he was pushing you. He was kind of
was being my therapist. He's like, can you say that again? I'm like, I don't think so. And then when it flowed out again, it was just an incredible experience because what it taught me was intuitively, I had the tools. Intuitively, I knew the answers, but I wasn't living them. I wasn't, aware.
Yeah, you were right. You were speaking them, but not living them.
So when that came out and I was like, oh my God, that was so obvious. Like, why am I not living this? But what I love about that is that you don't have to start by concentrating on eating vegetables.
That's right.
Vegetables are fabulous. Right. And everybody should eat vegetables, but that's not, you don't have to will your way into your well-being. You can find that spark within you, that awakening within you, however, whether it's through your divine purpose, your why, your reason for being, that could be your entrance. Then you start finding joy because you figured that out. Then you naturally start eating better, where that frees up, what? My sleep's not really good. Let me assess that. And do I have an optimal space to sleep in?
And do I have a glass of wine before I go to sleep? Is that
or
not
4?
Good? Or 4, right. Which is not going to help you to sleep.
Do I have a television in my bedroom?
Right. Things like that.
Right. Do I go like this on my screen and then think I can just
shut it off? I know about 5 years ago, my father, who's 80 years old, and my mom took him to the doctor and he's pre-diabetic. And they said, oh, you're going to have to go on medication. My mom said, let's just try this at home. And she went home and she did the lentil meatloaf and the vegan changed his whole life. He liked cereal and yogurt and ice cream and everything with a lot of sugar. Changed his life. 6 months later, went back and the doctor said, I have never seen a change like this. And it was just pure food, just pure what she allowed him to eat. But 80 years old, he had the flu last year. She went to Walmart to fill his prescription. He had not had one prescription filled in 25 years since they moved here.
And Kelly, I love that you had that family experience, and we would hear literally multiple times a day, story after story after story about these, not 7 years later or 7 months later,
6 months.
Yep. And that was very inspiring. And I applaud and celebrate and thank the amazing people who are working on lifestyle and functional medicine. I applaud and thank the people who are making the mind-body connection. Because again, if you're not settled and centered and whole and, caring for yourself because you love yourself first, these other components are hard.
And I love how you went to a card reader. You were just opening yourself up to everything, weren't you? Hypnotherapist, a medium.
I'm such a firm believer. I love saying yes to the universe. Right. And so I'm like, that's so interesting. Like, I don't even know what that's about, but it's here and it's here for some reason.
Gigi, right?
Gigi. Oh my God. And I saw Stephanie yesterday and she was just adorable because she had no idea.
Stephanie Davis, the Downtown Diva, wrote a column about going to see Gigi, this medium. And so you spontaneously made an appointment and then forgot about it. And then
for
6 months later, you look, I have an appointment. So you went, you're like,
Yep. And I like that adventure of, I don't know, this is here. Let me just go ahead and give it a try.
In other words, not closing your mind off to any possibility.
Yeah. And obviously not stepping into obscene danger.
Right.
I'm not an adventurer, but I find curiosity, and that's funny. Like, I don't even know what this is about. So as I shared in the book, I woke up that day and it was a very busy week. And there was this thing on my calendar and I was like, I don't know what this is. I remembered and I was like, I can't go to that. I'm so busy. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to take this hour for myself. I'm going to go do this. And the experience that I had literally was one of the pivots, obviously, in my journey, where I wasn't looking for intel or to connect. Like, I just went to this medium because my friend Stephanie wrote about it.
You should laugh about it after and tell your friends,
And so many other people had started to go because of Steph's column. And I was like, I don't know. I got to go check this out. And what happened, and I share some of that experience in the book, was, this woman who I was very stoic. I was like,
no one can get it. Yeah.
No one's getting in here. I'm not going to
believe in that.
You can, the stuff, if you Google search, I don't know, but I'm 100% sure you can't find this stuff out. The stuff she started to share, I was like, wow, but stoic, didn't give it away. But that was a very heavy opportunity to start being curious
and open to different things.
Like, what's that about? And where is that an energetic thing? Is that a metaphysics thing? Like, how is she getting this from me? Where is this coming from? And I don't have, maybe the next time we do this, we'll bring in an expert.
Yes.
Maybe that's kind of where I want to go, because I'm so curious about energy and how, we're all one.
Right.
We're all just this big mass of energy. And so, well, right now we're at a table with a microphone and, you have that pretty dress on, but we're all just energy. And there's been incredibly brilliant people who were able to articulate that. So I think for me, the curiosity about our interconnectedness is what I would like to understand better, because if I'm hurting you or you're hurting me, we're only hurting ourselves. And I have escalated in that feeling where now I'm even more sensitive to when there's pain or something's being destroyed. And on the flip side, when there's something joyous, I feel it. Like right now, I hurt for Mother Earth. Yes. I hurt, and I know a lot of us, and we have dear friends who are hurting for all the pain of others right now. And that's been very interesting because we're all interconnected.
And you can't not see the images on the news. You can't pick up a newspaper and see the pain across the country, whether it's economic, whether it's healthcare, and medically with the pandemic, people dying from COVID, what's happening in India and overseas. I mean,
so then how do you manage that?
Right, because it's, people say I can't even watch the news. It's so upsetting. How do you do it? Sitting there, and it is. But if we're not aware of it, then we can't do anything to change it.
Yep. And then how I'm navigating that, because I can't get a lot of stimuli, right? With that, it's too much for me. And I get overwhelmed. And then I think, you know what? I'm responsible for one human. If I take the best care of me, right? Imagine if everyone on this planet took the best care of themselves. When I say the best care, that doesn't mean that they hoard the most money.
No.
Or get the most
buy the most, buy the most.
Okay, there's plenty for all
Gucci
of us.
or
Exactly. And Gucci's fab.
Yes.
I love, but like, okay, so you have
how
one
much do you need
instead of 900.
Right.
If we all just were centered and calm with self, and we all showed up from that place of wholeness, calm and centered and whole, then we're able to connect with one another without being like, well, I'm jealous of you, or I don't like you, or I project my junk on you. Projection's a whole nother conversation that drives me crazy, because what you put out is what you see.
Yes.
In the situation.
Right.
And what you attract.
Absolutely. So it's almost like that self-fulfilling prophecy.
100%. Mm-hmm. And it's you. What do they say? Like you get what you deserve, or you attract what you believe. Yes, yes. So for me, when I'm like, I try to find the joy in the situation. I try to find the lesson in the situation. I try to find the
look at the good in somebody.
So then I am seeing the good in that maybe not so good situation. I try to learn from it. Then that's what's reflecting to me, right? And that's what I'm absorbing, is the joy instead of the pain or the what have you. And then it's emanating out that positivity. Where if I sit in a negative spot and I'm like, this sucks, this is terrible, this is horrible, guess what? It is.
It is. And who wants to be around somebody like that? You're not going to attract other good people.
No, you're not. You're going to attract more of that, because that's what you see and that's what you put out.
But I loved so many lessons in here are just about focusing on controlling how you react to a situation, not the situation.
Yes.
I learned.
You read my book. You read my book. You read my book.
You know what I mean? Like I can't control here's the thing I relate to. I can't control what's going to happen during my newscast. A mistake might happen. Words might be wrong. I can't control that, but I can control how I react to it. And if I get angry when something goes wrong during a newscast, it's going to project out and viewers are going to know. So you just have to say,
it is what it is.
It's live TV.
It happens.
You have to embrace the person who made the mistake, because it's all a collaboration. How convenient we're at the collaboratory.
Oh, right. And speaking of being at the collaboratory, when I was driving here this afternoon and the darkest sky was behind it, and I'm watching it come towards, I'm like, I hope I get inside before this onslaught of rain comes, which I did. But I thought, wow, this is truly going to mess things up today, right? And this is I know if I was at home and this was your gig and
You went into a negative space.
I was like,
Quickly.
well, here we go. It's going to rain, right? And it's going to be awful and the skies are going to open up.
Right.
And then I immediately went into whatever's meant to be will be. And whoever's supposed to come, be in community today will be here. And what happened? It didn't end up happening.
Right.
But even if it had, I don't control the weather, right? I control my reaction to the fact that it's raining right now and it's maybe ruining things according to me. No, that's why waste energy? Why be stressed out about?
So hard.
Is it? And doesn't that sound ridiculous?
I
You're like,
know.
do I really do that? Because who would ever
Right.
do that? No, we do that, and we get like all freaked. That guy just cut me off, right? Road rage.
But you don't have a chance to think sometimes. You just react to things. Even with my kids, I react to them, and I was like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I?
So let's put into the space. How do you get better at not reacting, right? And feeling the emotion. So if that bubbles up where you're mad at the car or you're mad at the rain or you're mad at the kid for that experience, you still are allowed and need to feel that. But how do you learn to work through that so that you can maybe not even experience it anymore? And again, this goes back to what I was saying before about when I answered this for Heather Christie. She's like, that's it? You breathe. You take a deep old breath. You practice taking deep old breaths. You practice releasing, being, relax, chill out.
I love that you're saying this because about a year ago, I was so mad at my 8-year-old and I was yelling at her for something she did. And she said, Mom, take a breath.
Oh my God. From the mouth of babes.
And it stopped in my tracks. She said, take a breath, Mom. You always tell me to count to 10.
Right. So from the mouth of babes. And what did we do here before we came on to be with our friends, right? We took a minute and a half and we were taking breath together. And what was the second thing we were doing or I was expressing?
Gratitude.
We took a minute and a half to be in this present moment, to take some deep breaths together. And I expressed my gratitude for this moment, for my friends, for the opportunity to be a conduit of whatever needs to be in this space. And it's from that place of being, be, period, full sentence. Step number one, just be.
I was thinking to myself when we were saying this, every time I'm at a wonderful, it was a wonderful weekend away, Memorial Day weekend with my husband and some friends, or if I'm at a wonderful party, I want to set an alarm for myself, have it go off and just remind myself to sit here and to look around, like take it in and just say, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Because how many times afterwards do you look back and say, I don't even remember.
I was there. It flew by. So here's another one that we can do. So, and David and I did this, again, to kind of work up that muscle so that this becomes a habit. We did a 21-day gratitude practice, 3 things. So every night when we, get into bed, I'd be like, okay, 3 things. And there's some nights you're like, oh, seriously?
Yeah,
I
just want to go to sleep. Right.
And,
or it sounds hokey.
Yeah.
But,
like, 3 things.
Yes.
But what happened was, in some nights they were like, your rice and bean dish was delicious.
Right.
Which it was, but you know, or sometimes it was like,
I got a hot shower.
We got to spend time with Brendan and Landon today. And it was so joyous. And I'm so grateful for our family. Stuff like that. Right. So,
but 9 times out of 10, it was just a simple moment that you probably wouldn't have even recognized before.
Oh, because you just gave me chills. Because you know what that's about, right? Oh, this is a big one right now. I think, I can't say we think, because I'm not going to speak for you, but I thought that it was always when I got there, I would be happy. If only
this is so, yes.
then I would be happy. If I had this title, if I had this much money, if I had this house, right?
And social media does that too. You see everyone else's pictures. Why? And I'm thinking, well, if they're taking a picture and sharing it, then they're not in the moment either.
They're not being.
They're not being.
So imagine,
they're
right?
Instagramming.
Think about that thing that you
Yes.
couldn't wait to achieve or do, and then you got there, and then all of a sudden there was another thing.
Right.
So did that work? No. Or it did for that split second of whatever that is.
It's never enough.
No. So imagine if you could actually be here, happy, whole, satiated. It's not about where you're going. It's about all of the steps taking you there. So you cast that vision, you enjoy that you have a goal, I would like a new boat. I don't know. I do want a new boat.
Yeah.
I would love a new boat. Okay. Am I like, I'm not going to be happy or whole or
Right.
satiated?
Until I get
No.
it. No.
I'm like, that's interesting. I'm going to contemplate that. Maybe I'll work on that. I'm going to go for it. But it's every step along the way. More important, this opportunity the past year to now be out on my own and create my own community and a company where I can be love and help each other,
But talk to me about the fears you had from stepping away from that weekly paycheck, the benefits, the comfort, because we all get stuck and say, oh, I can't do that because this is safe.
hardest. And again, applaud my amazing husband who took this leap with me.
Mhm.
And he was like, you really want to change, don't you? And I was like, I do.
Even though he liked the paycheck.
Oh my God, we
Mm,
loved the
that's-
paycheck. And I loved,
Yes.
people and
Yes, and I know.
trying to work on well-being
But
and
you
healthcare.
felt like you did what you.
I had hit a wall and I wasn't able to, I saw other things that were much more important to me that I was not in alignment with my company. So, and it wasn't like, you're all jerks, I'm out of
Right.
here. It was literally like, thank you so much. These 10 years have been amazing. I'm really passionate now about helping
I'm
people.
ready.
And it was just like this, shedding of that was a chapter and I loved every second of it. So
What's the company? I mean, what's the
Yeah.
new journey?
well, and that's a great question. And I love this raw real talks. I love this honesty. I'm still self-discovering that. And what I'm practicing right now is that, and we can, come to, I think this is a perfect way for us to close tonight's conversation. I don't know yet. Every day that I wake up is a new discovery. And it's not about when I have this or when I have this many clients or when I have this much money. This is literally about me being in awe and wonder every day of the blessings that are showing up within my new company as I learn what is unfolding. And I'm going to be happy every single step of the day, even though I could tell you all the things that aren't here yet, all the things I want to see, all the ways I want it to look and feel.
Unattached ending.
Yes,
Right?
sister.
But okay, so let's talk about people. I mean, this has flown by. You are, I'm going to say it again, KristinCollins.com, because you can go into your website and you can find a new and improved website, but there's a YouTube channel. Sometimes I get your Friday email will pop into my inbox and I just take a minute and I just read it. And it just kind of, it's like going to church on Sunday and hearing the sermon. It helps you look forward to the week or the weekend.
Thank you.
So there are opportunities that a podcast is coming.
Well, and this will be the first one. So thank you. I will be in your seat, just connecting with some people that have helped spark something inside of me as I'm on my journey to optimal well-being. So yeah, like you said, I welcome anyone into community, and you can go on the website. It's KristinCollins.com. It will be reemerging in the next week or two with a new look and feel, but from there you can get inspiration, little tidbits, experts. I'm so blessed to walk this with.
Yes, you've brought in national speakers, hopefully we can hear from
global.
some of them, global speakers. And just to be able to, I love to walk in the morning and I put my earbuds in and I walk and I listen to podcasts that inspired me. And so I think this is a great opportunity to kind of reset and to say, just be, Kellie.
Amen. And you and I will be that first podcast in about a month.
All right. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you. Please I read it in a weekend and it was a touching weekend. It was Mother's Day. I was with my family and I was on the beach and it made me look up at the sunset and the beauty of the beach and say, be in this moment, appreciate the people, gratitude around me, and just love this moment. Not think about what I have to do Monday or the next week. So thank you for that weekend.
Kellie.
And if anyone, it's a wonderful read. And it's inspiring, and I think it will make you think about your life as well.
And I just want to end by thanking you. And as I said before, when this started happening, when I was in the moment and this started to emerge, I immediately thought I would love to take the opportunity for the first time to reflect on whatever has just happened, to see just how does this feel? What is the message? And most importantly, I wanted to express gratitude to all of you who have inspired this in me and fueled me and have helped to spark my awakening. So thank you so much.
Her Phoenix Rising, KristinCollins.com.
Thanks, you guys.
You have just listened to another episode of Finding the Spark Within with Christin Collins. If you found our content valuable, visit us at kristincollins.com/podcast, where you can find more episodes and amazing content. Connect with your purpose and discover ultimate joy. Join us again next time here on Finding the Spark Within.